going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. I want to give my thoughts on Super Bowl 59. There were no individual player performances that stood out in this win, but this was an overall great team performance that we saw out of the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59. They played well in all three phases of the game: special teams, offense, defense. Coming in, it initially was thought that if Philadelphia was going to win, Saquon Barkley was going to have a big game because Jalen Hurts couldn't be trusted. Well, it turns out Saquon Barkley gets shut down and Jalen Hurts just outplays Patrick Mahomes, and he looked like the way better quarterback in this game, and it wasn't even close. He had 3 total touchdowns. He was a menace on the ground. He looked better running in this Super Bowl than he did all year long. He looked elusive. He looked faster than ever, and he was really good throwing the ball as well. Outside of that one interception, I mean, it looked like he was throwing the ball against air. The Eagles won this game because they flat out were the overall better team, which we all knew coming into this game. But let's be honest, if anybody would have told you that the Eagles were going to just crush Kansas City and put belt the ass on them, you would have thought they were lying to you. The Chiefs all year long have played better than what their talent level has been. Let's be honest, when you look at this team from a talent standpoint, they don't look like a one-loss team. They don't look like a team that you thought would have been the 1 seed in the AFC. We all would have believed that the Bills and the Ravens were more talented than this year's Kansas City squad. And even last year's Kansas City team wasn't that good, but they've been able to overachieve because they've been a well-coached team and Patrick Mahomes has played good football. Well, tonight in Super Bowl 59, they were not the better coached team. It was believed that the Chiefs had the coaching advantage. Andy Reid was going to be able to get the better of Nick Sirianni, but it was a complete opposite. One of the biggest additions that contributed to the Eagles winning this year's Super Bowl wasn't just Saquon Barkley, but it was when Nick Sirianni hired Vic Fangio during the offseason when the Miami Dolphins didn't want him anymore because the players didn't really like his coaching style. He's old school, he's tough, he's hard-nosed, he's really hard on discipline. Well, the Eagles said, come on here, and remind you that he was already helping with the strategizing and the game planning for the last time these two teams matched off against each other in the Super Bowl. So he was definitely ready for this game, and you could tell because the Kansas City Chiefs offense looked unrecognizable in this game. And yeah, we knew they were undermanned up front, but they could barely even get the ball past the 40-yard line. That's how suffocating Philadelphia's defense was in this Super Bowl. This was an outstanding game from both sides of the ball out of the Philadelphia Eagles. This was the best game they played all season, and they did it at the right time. This was a season about redemption because around this time last year, remember, we were having discussions about if Nick Sirianni was even going to be able to keep his job should the Eagles replace him with Bill Belichick. Was Jalen Hurts overrated? Was he as good as what he was hyped up to be, or was his stock being overinflated from what he did the last time they played in the Super Bowl? This team had so many questions that you wouldn't have expected them to get to this point, although they were the most talented team top to bottom in the NFL all year long. It really was more of, can the Eagles not beat the Eagles this year? With how they imploded last season, you would have thought that Nick Sirianni was a dead man walking. But to his credit, he's been able to silence all the critics. He's won over the players. He's won over the locker room. He's won over the coaching staff, and they respect him. And it's evident that they do because all the man does is win. In the last 3 years, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won one of them. He's been to a few conference championship games. He's been to the playoffs every single season as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. We all owe Nick Sirianni an apology. Even Eagles fans, to a certain extent, probably doubted Nick Sirianni to a certain point. But Jalen Hurts, I'm willing to finally admit that I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. He definitely is a top 10 quarterback. Tonight, he once again outplayed Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage, 3 total touchdowns. From start to finish, he was the better quarterback. This was the best outing he had out of any of his postseason performances in the past history. This was a good moment for Jalen Hurts because I remember watching the national championship game a few years ago when he got benched in favor of Tua Tagovailoa. I remember when he transferred to Oklahoma, was a Heisman finalist, and got ran out of the building in the semifinals by LSU led by Joe Burrow. For him to go from what he was at Alabama to being a Super Bowl champion is one of the greatest redemption arcs in the history of sports. Because Jalen Hurts, unlike most people, when they get benched and they get counted out, he could have quit. But instead, he kept going. He kept persevering. He showed a lot of resilience. That's why he's Nick Saban's favorite player ever. Because Jalen Hurts embodies everything that Nick Saban wants out of his players. And in the face of adversity, that's when Jalen Hurts is at his best. When times get tough, that's when Jalen Hurts elevates his game. That's when he puts in more work. That's when he goes harder. He's a silent leader. He's not a huge rah-rah guy. But when he does talk, people listen. And when he's in a room, you can just feel his energy. And leadership isn't all about being able to scream at guys and always being able to deliver a great motivational speech. Sometimes being a good leader is just being able to be calm and composed, being able to lead by example. And Jalen Hurts does a good job of that. It's relaxing when times get rough and, you look like you're not going to have a chance to win and you get rattled, but your quarterback, you look at him on the sidelines and he's just always the same, just calm and mellow. Seeing somebody relax makes you relax. Seeing somebody not stressing about a situation makes you not stressed about a situation. And there's been certain people who have kind of criticized Jalen Hurts' leadership style. Some people feel like he's not vocal enough. But getting Saquon Barkley kind of took some of that attention off of Jalen Hurts. Because now Jalen Hurts didn't have as much pressure as before to be that vocal leader. Now, that's what Saquon Barkley's there for. And Saquon Barkley, although he didn't really have that big of an impact in the Super Bowl, his impact on getting the Eagles to this game can't be overstated. And he single-handedly this season showed the importance of the running back position. If you are a team that already is Super Bowl caliber, but you're looking for that one missing piece to get you over the hump, that's when getting an elite running back comes into play. Because when you have an elite running back like a Saquon Barkley, that's a threat to take it to the house every time he touches the ball, it puts a different level of pressure on defensive coordinators and defenses. Because now with Saquon Barkley, it's pick your poison. Are you going to sell out against the run and get carved up via the pass like we saw Jalen Hurts do tonight with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith? Or are you going to try to sell out to stop the pass and allow Saquon Barkley to run all over you? When you add a weapon like Saquon Barkley at running back, it makes your offense complete. Because now you don't have any weakness at all when you have a great offensive line. Getting an elite running back can complete your offense. That's why having an elite running back in today's NFL is so important. And Saquon Barkley, by winning this Super Bowl and the role that he played during this Super Bowl run for Philadelphia, has showed the importance once again of why running backs matter in the National Football League. Running backs take the burden off of your quarterback. Running backs take some of that attention off of your quarterback. Running backs can become the identity of your team. Just because you are a run first team doesn't mean that you are a team that's incapable of being able to throw the football. Would you rather be a pass first team that can't run or a run first team that can pass? I think we all know the answer to that. It's flashy to be the pass first team like Kansas City has been for the majority of this year. But Philadelphia has won this game because they've been able to play complete football. They had a complete team. And what's next for the Kansas City Chiefs after losing Super Bowl 59 in devastating fashion is expect to see this team right back in this game as soon as next season, because the only thing that they are missing is offensive tackle. And as soon as they address that, they don't really have any other weaknesses. I'm scared of what the Chiefs' offense is going to look like next season with a healthy Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy in year 2. Xavier Worthy has been the best player on the Chiefs' offense, not named Patrick Mahomes, all throughout this playoff run, and he was only a rookie. And they called on him the most during the postseason. During the regular season, they didn't really use him as much as they utilized the other players on their offense. But during playoff time, that's when Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes put all their faith in Xavier Worthy, and he delivered. He was the most consistent player on the Chiefs offense during this postseason run. And when they can add another weapon to put alongside of Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, and you get Isaiah Pacheco coming off that injury fully healthy now, Kansas City is still going to be in the mix to win the Super Bowl every single year until Andy Reid retires and Patrick Mahomes hangs up the cleats. Now, will they continue to win as many Super Bowls after this game as what they've done in years past? I don't think so. I do think that this will be the start of one of many years that we don't see Kansas City win it all. I believe that there'll probably be a 6-7 year stretch where Kansas City isn't winning the Lombardi Trophy, because look at how difficult the AFC West has become now. The difference between the current Chiefs dynasty versus the Brady Belichick Patriots dynasty is that the AFC East every single year throughout the Belichick Brady dynasty was always bad because the coaches were always bad and the quarterbacks were always garbage. Well, what's different is with Kansas City now entering 2025, the AFC West has some of the best coaches in the NFL. You got Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl. He has a promising young quarterback in Bo Nix. Jim Harbaugh has Justin Herbert, who's a top 5, top 10 quarterback, and he's been to a Super Bowl before. He's one of the best football coaches ever. Not just in the NFL, but just ever in terms of both NFL and college football. And then, you add Pete Carroll to the mix. So you got 2 other teams in your division that have coaches that are not too far off away from what Andy Reid are, that have their quarterback situations figured out, that all they need to do is improve their roster, and soon they'll be able to compete with you for the division. So with the AFC West catching up with the Kansas City Chiefs, closing the gap with Kansas City in terms of the supremacy for this division, expect to see that Kansas City Chiefs not be as good in the future as what they've been these last 3 years. When you're not able to dominate your division, It keeps you from getting home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They got the 1 seed this year, mainly thanks to them playing in a weak division. They also, yeah, they were fortunate to get some lucky wins. You got to have a little bit of luck to win in today's NFL. You can say it's rigged all you want to, but their division not being that good is a large reason for why they've been on this run this last 6, 7 years. But that's soon to end. I believe in what Jim Harbaugh is about to turn the Chargers into with Justin Herbert and Sean Payton. If he could get the Broncos to the playoffs with the large cap hit they had to take when they got rid of Russell Wilson, the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, imagine what they're going to be able to do in 2, 3 years and now. So Kansas City, yeah, they'll still be in the Super Bowl discussion. You're never not going to leave them out as long as Mahomes is around, but I don't see them winning one for at least the next couple of years. They could get back to this game most definitely, but I think we won't see them holding up another Lombardi for a while. I know this is going to piss off a lot of you guys, but listen, let's just be honest. Kendrick Lamar had the weakest halftime show in Super Bowl history. There was no energy at all. The crowd wasn't singing along to any of the songs, and most of the songs that he was playing, I didn't even know the lyrics to. No Poetic Justice, no Swimming Pools. I mean, the only reason Kendrick Lamar got this spot in Super Bowl 59 is because of one song. They Not Like Us. They like us. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I love that song. That's my favorite song of this past year. But outside of that, Kendrick Lamar isn't one of those artists that strikes me of Super Bowl caliber. He just doesn't have that deep of a catalog. And we need to stop lying, making it out like Kendrick Lamar is like one of the most popular rappers ever. Like Drake is definitely a more recognizable artist than what Kendrick Lamar is. Kendrick Lamar makes really good music. But just because you make great music doesn't mean you appeal to all of the masses. The NFL is a global spectacle. A guy like Kendrick Lamar is a little bit too niche for an event of this scale. Lil Wayne is more recognized globally than what Kendrick Lamar is. He would have been a better pick for this year's Super Bowl, especially with it being in his hometown as well, than Kendrick Lamar. Drake definitely would have been a way better selection than Kendrick Lamar. And I'm not standing for Drake. I'm just being honest. When you look at some of the artists that have performed in the Super Bowl in the past, like Rihanna, Coldplay, these have been huge, big, globally well-recognized artists. And I don't see Kendrick in that fashion. Kendrick is well known within the rap community, but globally, he wouldn't sell out a stadium if he went to China or Japan. You feel me? It's just when you're performing in the Super Bowl, you got to bring your A game. And Kendrick Lamar didn't bring his A game. This was the worst Super Bowl halftime performance that I've ever been alive to watch. It wasn't good. Like, the only time I got lit was during the second half when he started playing They're Not Like Us. Like, that was about it. And then the other good part about his halftime performance was when he had Samuel Jackson out. That was cool too. Anytime you have Samuel Jackson out, is always a W. But I mean, I didn't even know how many people he was going to have coming out of that car. I was like, how many damn people that came out of that car for as small as what that car was? It seemed like it was about 100 people that came out of that thing. But Kendrick's halftime show was weak. And I love Kendrick. I'm not a Kendrick Lamar hater, but the energy just wasn't there, man. I was not feeling it at all. Rihanna's halftime definitely crushed it. I wouldn't have mind seeing her running back again, but Kendrick just let me down this year. I was expecting way more out of Kendrick. I was expecting more more turn up. You feel me? Get me riled up. This is the Super Bowl halftime show, Kendrick. It's 100 million people watching. Get me out of my sofa. Get me out of my seat. Get me out of my bed. You feel me? Kendrick got way more hits that he could have played in the Super Bowl this year. And y'all know it too. Y'all want a fanboy for Kendrick. I can be a fan of Kendrick and give an honest critique. And this is definitely one of the worst performances that I've ever seen him give out. He had way more songs in the tank that he could have played in this game. Even if you ain't want to play Poetic Justice because Drake is on it, cool. You got way more of the songs you could have played than what you played tonight, man. Like, this was really disappointing. I'm not like a huge Kendrick fan, but I do have a little bit of Kendrick Lamar in my rotation. Like, I listen to enough Kendrick that if you was in a whip with me, you would hear him on my aux. So this just was a weak halftime show out of Kendrick Lamar this year. I don't know how many of y'all are going to agree with that. I'm pretty sure not a lot, but that's just my opinion. But this is it for this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. The Eagles crushed the Chiefs 40-22 in Super Bowl 59. Give your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember, we're not just a YouTube channel. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. Links are down in the description and pinned comment down below. And I'll see you guys shortly with another episode.